Welcome, friends. Welcome to another Word of Gord. And it is again one of those dark afternoons. It's raining outside. And don't let the lighting give you any hint of somberness. I'm not feeling at all somber. Continuing on in Average Folks of the Afterlife, number 58, with Paul Elder's Eyes of an Angel, his fine contribution to the literature of out-of-body travel and all the interesting, mysterious, and wonderful things you can do once you're out there. So, more or less continuing on from 57. I may be overlapping a bit here, but let's just continue with Melder's little illuminating series of instructions to Mr. Elder. Each solar aspect of the all continues always to work toward higher and higher levels of vibration and understanding, as we are in reality all one. It is a natural desire for souls to want the very best for every other soul. The evolution and advancement of each individuated soul is extremely important to souls in all planes of consciousness. Regardless of the levels of vibration and realization that we have attained individually, we can never be completely happy or content until every aspect of the all has attained the God realization and perfection that we seek. Completely happy or content. Theoretically, he's correct, but the bliss level that one feels in any level from the mid-astral onward, upward, is pretty intense. And believe me, the fact that you know there are many millions of souls that have yet to attain that consciousness of the divine within themselves doesn't trouble you that much. I mean, it does, but, not that much. It's sort of like being at a really good weekend party at a cottage in the summertime where the weather's just perfect and the company is ideal. And, you're swimming and you're boating and you're sunbathing and, you're having a nice dinner in the evening and listening to the birds at twilight. I mean, that there's millions of poverty-stricken people around the world, not to mention those that are endemically at war because they have war in their hearts. Both sides, usually, winners and losers. Hatred and anger does it every time. But, you can't do that much about it. So you enjoy your weekend. And you feel as happy as you're able to feel. And, being in the spirit world in paradise is somewhat like that. The project is not completed. That the enlightenment of the planet and the advancement of the planet to greater and greater levels of vibration within the solar system and then without the solar system and onward into the multi-leveled galaxies is not going to be achieved overnight. So you might as well enjoy yourself while you have the chance. Being in paradise is a bit like that. We are our brother's keepers, Melder added, not because we have to be or because we're told to be, but because we want to be. For this reason, out of pure unconditional love, many advanced souls volunteer to assist others in progressing through levels that they themselves have already assimilated. True. I have enjoyed many teachers and I will have many more. Also true. And while you're being a teacher or a guide on the astral plane, as I've pointed out, various places, including my books, you get to have some fairly quality time with your friends, your soulmates, and on your own. The love of nature, the love of art, the love of music, the enjoyment of study, making yourself a more complete being. All of those things are available to you and will be pursued as you act as a guide and help others on earth. And just in case you're wondering, if a guide gets tapped on a difficult situation and they're they're on their way to do something of personal importance, a concert, they can tap on a friend guide that can go fill in for them. All these things are possible. All guides have friends that can fill in for them in a pinch. So get away from this notion of sort of sacred servitude. Yes, you are giving to others for their benefit and not for your own, but you do get some time off to enjoy yourself. Let's face it, if Beethoven's giving a concert of a piano concerto that he composed while in spirit after he died, and you get a chance to go see it, and one of your charges is having a bit of a traumatic episode one weekend, you get someone to fill in for you. You're not going to miss that Beethoven. No, you're not. I think you get the point. But if we were already in the spirit world before we came here, I asked, why would we bother to incarnate into a slow and dense physical body? The greatest opportunity that the physical world offers is the experience of human emotions. It is for these powerful learning tools that most souls choose to incarnate and return again and again to Earth. You said most souls choose to incarnate. I interrupted. Do you mean there are souls that don't? Oh, heavens, yes, Melder explained. Billions upon billions of souls, get that, billions upon billions, have never incarnated into a physical being as you understand it. Many souls choose to experience and contribute to the all entirely from the spirit form. Every soul has complete freedom to contribute to the well-being of the collective consciousness as it sees fit. So those of you who make comments in the YouTube comment section about wondering why souls would return to this planet of suffering and agony, which it is, there's your answer. You don't have to do it. Now, sometimes we feel very brave in spirit and go, yeah, I'm going to take all that shit on. I'm going to go back down there. And then we get here and we go, oh, God, what a stupid choice that was. But, you get back the next time, you can stay there. But why would a soul be attracted to experiencing human emotions? Let me put it this way, Melder explained. In this higher vibration, a spirit, other than vicariously, cannot really experience or understand the many powerful emotions that an incarnate spirit can. Being part of the all, a spirit on this side, who has never been exposed to human or similar incarnations, is not normally able to experience feelings on the other than the emotion of love. A spirit could not, for example, experience or understand the emotions such as pain, hate, fear, jealousy, sexuality, or lust. Well, if you're on the lower astral, you certainly can experience lust. But you probably don't want to go down there and check it out. But it's there. Knowledge gained from experience is the key. Some of my compatriots argue that to really know and appreciate a complete understanding of love, it may be necessary to experience the opposite of love through emotions like fear and hatred. The challenge and experience of all these powerful emotions can be like a very strong magnet, an almost irresistible drug to those in spirit. These are very potent and compelling learning tools. Notice you'll say, some of my compatriots argue. Spirit guides do have disagreements. And as I've pointed out in the channeled book from Jesus and Maitreya, Jesus and the Christ, or they've pointed it out and I've been the secretary. Even the ascended masters can disagree politely on how to go about implementing certain plans for humanity. And they don't always work out either. But let me get back to your original questions. Through various incarnations, souls develop special friendships and bonds with certain other souls. They quickly learn that with each other's help, they can achieve better results and a more profound learning experience. So together they agree to return again and again to the Earth environment, learning, evolving, and experiencing. Often they will switch roles in each other's lives. In one life, a soul might play the role of parent, only to return in the next life as the other's child. Numerous scenarios can be played out time and time again, all for the experience and accumulated knowledge. Experience and knowledge are, after all, the only things you can take with you when you leave the physical world. None of those glamorous toys, no, they don't get to go. When souls become intricately involved in numerous rotations of incarnations, the learning can be great. A group or family of souls may become involved in planning out the challenges and general circumstances they hope to experience or overcome in the next lifetime. The lessons and roles they agree to play can be very harsh in the physical realities of Earth. But the soul knows and understands that the experience will itself be like a fleeting dream, the batting of an eyelash in the cosmic reality of non-linear time. True. When you do some past life regressions, as some of you have and some of you will, that traumatic episode in ancient Greece or ancient Egypt, it doesn't seem so real now. As he says, it's the batting of an eyelash in the cosmic reality of non-linear time. I had a painful time in ancient Egypt at certain points. I was punished for not towing the line with the other priesthoods, but had my eyes burnt out. Ooh, not fun. Spent the rest of my life blind. There was also a great sacrifice by individual souls to help fulfill another's chosen lessons. Like your most recent Earth Mother, they may have agreed to put themselves into a difficult lifetime to help facilitate the learning and experience of others. For those who wish to accelerate their growth and spiritual advancement, the quest for experience and knowledge is tremendous. So, yeah, and it has been asserted in other books, we've been reminded, that people who are abusers have often taken on that role. Not always, but often. To assist another soulmate who wishes to experience victimhood, or one or other level of victimhood. The human experience is a very powerful lesson. With very few exceptions, those who choose to incarnate make their way through hundreds, even thousands of lives. They will experience both male and female bodies. Most, at some point, will also become murderers, thieves, and vagabonds. They'll experience lives of happiness and productivity, as well as lives filled with grief, despair, and human failure. Always seeking to improve, a soul might make significant gains in one life, only to fall and digress in the next. Yes, it's often a 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of scenario. The paths are many and as varied as the number of souls participating. As you have heard and read, there are many who refer to life experiences as karma. They may refer to karma as a spiritual system of justice and balance. They believe that if a soul performed badly, perhaps causing injury or even death to others, that soul would be forced to endure the consequences of its actions and make amends. This is not necessarily true. No one is forced to do anything. From the physical point of view, karma can be considered with both positive and negative connotations. But in the higher spiritual sense, it is neither good nor bad. It is merely experience. For example, human societies may view the action of some souls as incurring negative or bad karma, where an apparent wrong has been done to another. What if that same soul had actually agreed to perform the seemingly cruel act to assist another soul in its learning experience and development? In reality, it may be that an act judged by human society to be cruel and hurtful was actually a great sacrifice by the soul carrying out the act. The soul may have agreed to provide the lesson or experience for others, all the while knowing that he would incur the wrath and punishment imposed by human laws. But please do not misunderstand my message here. These types of laws that hold people accountable for their actions in Earth society are very necessary for the order and well-being of the physical world. In the spiritual world, retributions and punishments are not necessary. The responsibility for actions are readily accepted by souls in the course of their development. For example, a soul having lived a life as a cruel and violent womanizer may very well choose to return in a subsequent life as a woman who may become the victim of abuse. But I should make it very clear, a soul caught up in cycles as an abuser or abused should not accept this as their fate, but rather strive to conquer and triumph over these powerful lessons. The soul learns and experiences from both polarities, and the slow wheel of cause and effect in human endeavor continues to turn. My mind was spinning. Meldor's words were profound and engaging. I only hoped that I would be able to remember and integrate the message in my physical world. I thought of another question. I can understand, Meldor, that it may be possible for two or more souls to plan on a relationship by being born into the world as another soul's child or as brothers and sisters. But how could two souls plan to meet and become involved with each other as husband and wife? Given the freedom of choice by their parents and the many variables involved, how could they ever hope to overcome the tremendous odds against finding each other? Well, Meldor said, that's where we come in. Each and every soul that chooses to incarnate into the physical world has the help of one or more beings to guide and assist them towards achieving their goals. Guides and other helpers also work together in this realm to assist individual souls with the lessons they hope to accomplish. This is by no means foolproof, and there is certainly no guarantee that the intended outcome will be achieved. Even as incarnated souls, you always have the freedom of choice, which could negate the possibilities. But the power of guidance can be quite strong. Usually guidance will appear in small, almost undetectable subliminal ways. A simple thought or idea could be put into your mind, causing you to turn onto a certain street or to go into a certain store where you may encounter another specific soul or circumstance designed for your development. It could also involve working with totally unrelated people, causing them to take certain action that would assist in bringing the two souls together. The possibilities and circumstances are endless. It's very interesting, enjoyable work. Geez, I interjected, that's amazing. I never thought of it that way. That would certainly improve the possibilities for almost anything if you guys on the other side decided you wanted something to happen. Well, not exactly, Meldor grinned. We would never do anything to interfere with a soul's higher purpose or wishes. But you should understand that our assistance might also help to achieve what may be considered by human society as bad or destructive. If a soul, for example, wanted to experience a tragedy resulting in his body or brain being handicapped, we would also assist in providing the circumstances for that accident to happen. We realize that from a human's physical perspective, it might seem unthinkable or cruel that anyone would assist in what may seem like an unfortunate or needless tragedy. But from a spiritual perspective, it is only the temporary physical body and that is negatively affected. The soul is enriched and empowered by the experience. You may also be surprised to know that many souls voluntarily choose to incarnate into bodies that will be born deformed or handicapped, or will become handicapped due to accident or disease at some point during life. There is literally a waiting list of souls offering their love and energy to the experience itself, or to helping others in the experience. In view of the challenge, the opportunity for spiritual growth and development can be significant, not only for those handicapped, but for the parents, siblings, and caregivers. My mind was bursting with new questions and ideas. I was about to ask yet another question on the relationship between guides and their loved ones when my alarm radio clicked on so abruptly it jolted me into a sitting position in my bed. Finally, I got up to start my day. A while later, he's in the Monroe course Exploration 27. Done a bit of that myself, using my own Focus 27 tapes, and a lot of fun it can be too. During one of the morning sessions, I was having a great deal of difficulty staying focused on our destination. Believe me, during an altered state, this can be a significant problem. The spirit mind has the ability to move so quickly, but it can also become bored when nothing is happening. True. You can sometimes find yourself heading off in an unwanted direction, triggered by a mere thought. True. Stretched out in bed, I tried concentrating on the meeting place, but with little success. My mind kept wandering. I thought about home and some silly little joke my son Dave had told me. Wondering how he was doing with his school project, I unexpectedly found myself hovering over the street in front of his school, some 3,000 miles away. A group of kids were heading in through the front doors, but my attention was drawn to one blonde-haired boy. Even though he faced away from me, I knew it was Dave. He was wearing a jacket I hadn't seen before. Striped in blue, green, and purple, it had the strangest combination of colours. I thought, well, maybe it's not Dave. He wouldn't wear such an ugly jacket. A moment later, I was back in my body in Virginia. I hadn't the time, though, to give much more than a passing thought to what I'd just witnessed. Steady vibrations rippled through my body, and I was set to head off on another adventure. There was an abrupt spinning motion, and seconds later I found myself standing in front of an enormous building. It looked like something out of ancient Greece or Rome. Built of marble or granite, it must have been at least 50 feet high. Huge pillars spanned the front of the imposing structure, and an immense stairway led up to a large arched entry. Throngs of people moved in and out of the building while a boisterous group of children played on the steps. I noticed that only 2 or 3 of the children were dressed in modern clothing. The rest wore plain, loose-fitting toga-style robes. A sudden pang of paranoia gripped me, and for a moment I panicked. Quickly dancing down to make sure I hadn't shown up in my birthday suit, I let out a sigh of relief. Thankfully, I was clothed in the same tan-coloured robe I usually travelled in. Feeling more secure, I clambered up the wide steps to the massive landing, where everyone seemed happy. Small clusters of adults cheerfully greeted me as I made my way through the arched entrance and into the foyer. The beauty of the interior was breathtaking. Ornate pillars drew my eyes upwards to astonishing domed ceilings. Flawlessly painted in flowing murals, the intricate images were stunning. Perhaps this was where Michelangelo perfected his art. The paintings seemed to move and flow with a life of their own. I'd never seen anything quite so exquisite. But somehow it all seemed oddly familiar, like I'd been there before. I was so entranced I hardly noticed a woman clearing a throat in front of me. She'd been patiently trying to get my attention. Lowering my eyes from the ceiling, I realized that my mouth was hanging open. "Hi, Paul. My name is Larissa," she warmly greeted me. "We've been waiting for you." She was a tall, elegant woman in her mid-30s. Her long, dark hair was swept back from her face, revealing a soft, creamy complexion and the most extraordinary blue-green eyes. A white braided sash tied around her waist accented a loose-fitting light blue floor-length gown. She emanated a wonderful air of happiness and love. "You've been waiting for me?" I stuttered. "Oh, most certainly," she smiled. "We knew you'd be arriving, and you're right on time. Come, I'll show you around." I remember from other accounts of Monroe Institute group exercises, people will often project and then run into somebody that was waiting for them. So obviously there's, coordination going on. And for those of you who don't know, there is a Monroe Institute there on the other side. You're probably not surprised to hear that, even if you didn't know. "What is this place?" I asked. "This is our library and hall of records," she responded, and we began walking along a huge corridor. On either side were row after row of shelves filled with books in odd cylinders. It occurred to me that the cylinders might contain scrolls. "Yes, you're right," she read my thoughts. "We have every mode of communication stored here. There are other beautiful libraries on this level, but this one contains the life records of all incarnated souls. Energy imprints of all sentient beings are constantly gathered and recorded here. Nothing is ever missed. You could, I suppose, call this a living library. It is constantly growing, changing, and evolving." As Larissa spoke, a strong feeling of déjà vu came over me. Somehow this felt uncannily familiar. Have I been here before? "Oh yes, many times. You come here often between lives to study the records, to review what you've learned and to plan for your next incarnation. Everybody does. This is an important step in your continuing development." As we continued wandering through the aisles, I noticed for the first time my charming guide wasn't wearing shoes. And I'm not sure why this struck me as odd, but looking around I realized that nobody else was wearing shoes, and neither was I. The building was massive and appeared much larger inside than out. As we passed through a maze of shelves, aisles, and adjacent reading rooms, I caught sight of two other members of my group. My friend Bruce was leaning over a desk in a tiny alcove, chatting with a guide, while Robin, a most wonderful gentle soul, scanned the titles of several books at the end of the row. Noticing me, she smiled in recognition. I was thrilled to see them. It would be great to compare notes later. "Would you like to see your book?" Larissa's soft voice interrupted. "My book?" I asked. "Well, yes, I guess so." For some reason I felt apprehensive. What would the book reveal? What would it say about me? Who had written it? I wasn't so sure I wanted to know. "Oh, please don't worry," she whispered. "You wrote every bit of it yourself. You didn't sit down and write actual words for it, but you provided all the details through the energy of your existence. Everything that you do, say, or feel, or even think is an exchange of energy. These life force imprints are recorded and stored at this level, so you can track them and learn from your experience. Every nuance of the energy exchange in the astral and lower vibrations is stored here. There are also many higher levels of vibration, but they have their own repositories to record and store their energy impressions." "Ah, we are here." Larissa stopped near the end of an aisle, reaching up and withdrew a book. The manuscript itself seemed fairly thick as books go, but I couldn't imagine how it could possibly hold all the details of my life. "Oh, it doesn't contain the information from your present life. It holds the story of every incarnation you've experienced on this level, and there are many hundreds of them. It also details your time between lives. It's all here." With that, Larissa led me to a nearby alcove. Inviting me to take a chair, she placed the book on a pedestal in the center of a small round table and randomly opened it near the middle. Soon a shimmering tubular beam of light appeared above the pages. Although transparent, the light or energy field had a bluish tinge to it. It reminded me of a miniature version of the transporter beam from Star Trek. Amazed, I watched closely as a lifelike three-dimensional moving image took shape inside the field. A dark-skinned, dark-haired woman, clothed in hardly more than animal skin, sat cross-legged in front of a small shelter, nursing a newborn baby. Somehow I knew I was that baby. I felt the power of that moment, the peaceful, intimate connection, the soothing warmth of my mother. The emotions and feelings swirled through my mind like a long-forgotten memory. I would have continued the experience indefinitely, but the light touch of Larissa's hand on my shoulder brought me back to the present. Looking up at her smiling face, I saw in those beautiful eyes the reflection of my own delight and amazement in the timeless splendor of her existence. Flashing a warm, understanding smile, she flipped the pages to another section. I returned my attention to the energy field. The image of a dirty, white-skinned young man with a filthy mop of long brown hair began to take shape. He lay shivering under a small dirty blanket and heaps of rubbish in what appeared to be a dark, dank corner of some old abandoned building. As I looked more closely, it appeared that he was quite young, possibly 13 or 14. Coughing violently, he seemed to be burning with fever. Slowly, sad recognition came over me. I knew he was dying, and I knew this boy was me in another lifetime, another place. I didn't want to become involved in the scene I was witnessing. I didn't want to feel the resignation and grief already weighing in on me. Turning away from the images, I wished Larissa would flip to a new page. Again, I felt her hand on my shoulder, but this time it was to comfort and soothe. With her other hand, she took the book and withdrew it from the pedestal. The energy field immediately dissolved, leaving me sitting in contemplation. After several moments, Larissa gently interrupted my reverie. "It's time to go now," she whispered. "You can come back any time you like." Hand in hand, we walked back to the shelf when she returned the book to its place. As we strolled along, I began to feel a tug in my awareness. The familiar pull of session-ending beta tones became more pronounced. Larissa clasped my hand between both of hers. "It was so nice to see you again," she offered cheerily. "I look forward to the next time." The next thing I knew, I was back in my body. Replaying the vivid scenes in my mind, I sat on the edge of my bed making notes. The skeptical, analytical part of me still wanted to put everything in order. I tried to determine the culture and time period of the image of myself as a baby. My mother's skin color had been dark. The image, the large leafed branches covering the shelter seemed tropical. I settled on Polynesian or Philippine culture, but I hadn't a clue about the era. The images of myself as a boy slowly succumbing to death also returned to my mind. The boy's fair skin, along with the musty old decaying stone walls, reminded me of Europe. England, I thought, perhaps Scotland, or maybe Ireland. Here again, I had no idea what time period. Some of my fellow participants had also enjoyed vivid, powerful experiences in the same library-type building. Most important for me, however, was the unsolicited confirmation by Robin. She had indeed seen me in the library. As I walked into the debriefing room, she was already seated. With a mischievous smile, she winked at me. "Hey, Paul, who was that good-looking woman with you in the library?" I was beginning to wonder about Melder. 3 days had gone by and I hadn't seen him. Hoping that he wasn't off on vacation, I vowed the next opportunity I'd try and find him. Then he tries to track him down in his next projection. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was standing on the peak of a high desolate mountain. Melder sat before me in an oversized chair, like the kind we sometimes see in hotel lobbies. It was so large his feet hardly reached the front of the cushion. He looked every bit like a 3-year-old child in an adult chair. A childhood scowl knitted his bearded face, and with hands clasped across his lap, he vigorously twirled his thumbs. "What took you so long?" I didn't know what to think. He looked annoyed, but at the same time hilariously silly in this gigantic chair. I had no idea whether he was seriously or not. I thought, he interrupted. "Bet you can't sneak up on me." Eyes twinkling with an impish smile across his face, he swung his legs over the edge of the chair and slid to the ground. "Geez, Melder, you are some piece of work." "Hey, my boy, you got to lighten up. This is funny stuff." He reached out to hug me. "You should have seen the look on your face." "Well, it's good to see you," I grinned. What a comedian, I thought, looking around. The wind-blown rocky terrain, wisps of cloud floating by in the thin air, and this huge chair on a mountain peak in the middle of nowhere. This guy had style. "What on earth are you doing out here on the mountain?" I asked. "Oh, just waiting for you." Then he pointed to the picturesque surrounding valley. His tone softened, becoming reflective. "Isn't it a great view? A perfect place for contemplation, don't you think?" The ambience of the landscape was exhilarating and peaceful. The only thing out of place was the chair. "What's with the big old chair?" "What chair?" I turned to look, but there was nothing behind us. "The chair was just a creation for your amusement," he explained. "Manifestation of my thoughts. I put it there to show you that in the realms of pure energy, a thought can be real and easily manifested." I'd been wondering about that. I've seen so many different things in realms. It's hard to tell what's real and what's not. In a sense, it's all real. In the spirit realm, a person can create their own reality, including what you would perceive to be actual physical matter. It is the density of the matter and the rate of vibration that is relative to one's perception. On the earth plane, where matter is extremely dense and the rate of vibration is slow, physical beings have a comparative perception of reality. A rock is real. It's hard, it's heavy, relatively unchanging in terms of earth time. So, from a human perspective, it's easy to form concepts that material things are permanent and immutable. But in the spirit realms, the concept of permanence is much different. I'm not sure I understand what you mean. Take, for example, the chair I was enjoying when you arrived. It was completely real to your perception, was it not? You could have crawled onto it and sat. It was very real, but at the same time it was only a temporary construction of my mind, whereas the library building you visited yesterday was much more permanent and substantial. It too, however, was created by thought, but it is reinforced by the conscious energy of 1 billion of souls. Each and every visitor to the building maintains and perpetually reinforces the reality of the structure. You know I was at the records hall? Yes, of course, I was there with you. Well, I didn't see you. Why didn't you let me know you were there? It was better for you to have the experience by yourself, without my influence or interpretation. Your evolution is more complete through different perspectives. The building was phenomenal. It reminded me of pictures I've seen of some ancient buildings in Rome and Greece. A good comparison, he agreed. It's one of the places from which the builders and architects of your ancient civilizations developed their skills. They built these beautiful structures in the spirit realm before they returned to Earth to build them here. It is often in the spirit realm that creation and construction concepts are developed and honed to perfection. Of course, it's a much greater challenge to create and build on the dense Earth plane. And indeed it is a much greater challenge. That's all true. And underlines what I've said many times. Our real home it's really more there than it is here. Here's the kind of holiday in hell thing, you know. And then we go back and go, oh, thank God that's over. And go back for R&R, inspiration, and just a general, you know, lessening of stress. And not to mention depression, anxiety, and all that other stuff. And to those living in the astral, and there are many permanent residents, that is the real world. Where the higher selves are, the monads and archangels and etc., is on a much higher level. And if you get to study the teachings of the Ascended Masters, some of which I've been reading through Alice Bailey, you will find that they regard the astral plane as a pleasant, instructive place, but essentially an illusion, and that the higher levels are more real. And that's an endless debate. I would tend to agree. The astral plane reflects a lot of our desires from Earth. You know, you desire a better home than you had here, or even a better apartment or a condo or a better cottage in the woods, whatever. You can have one there, and lots of them do. Lots of folks do. You prefer a more pleasant little town or village to live in, it's there. You desire to study the guitar or the cello, or sing opera arias, or paint like Picasso or Vermeer, or weave tapestries, or become really good at fine carpentry. You do that there. But it's all based on what you couldn't do or thought you couldn't do here. It's an earth-based projection of an ideal world, and as such is wonderful and wonderfully fulfilling too. But it's essentially just a stage on a long road. And many people that spend a lot of quote-unquote time there don't quite get that. They think they've arrived, but you've only sort of arrived at a midway stage. Anyway, we'll ponder on these things, and I think we'll get back to Paul again. It's such a good book. And until then, I wish you all well. And what was it Mayor Baba said? Don't worry. Be happy.